Welcome, everybody, to Office Hours with Karpf and Loge, the summer school edition in front of a live studio audience. Woo! we need a laugh track and an applause machine, I think is what's going on. How you feeling, Dave?
Sweaty, as always.
Sweaty as always.
Yep.
Sticking to brand. That's
right
great. That's
in
good.
the middle of the summer.
So what do you want? There's stuff going on. What do you want to talk about?
Can we... I really want to talk about the lettuce thing.
You want to talk about, before the show, you wanted to bring up lettuce. You're stuck on lettuce, criticizing my lunch choices.
So I'm trying to get healthy. Last week, the plan was I was going to go running a lot, and I was going to eat a lot of salads. And then
Which lead to running. The salads now lead to running.
So I found out you should not eat salads because health. And then also with wildfire smoke, you should not go running because of health. So I stayed indoors and stared at the internet for health reasons.
For health reasons. It's medicinal purposes only.
Yeah. But the bit that stands out to me, a week ago, I did not know who Taylor Farms was.
Right.
And Taylor Farms is the producer of the lettuce, at least the one that we found so far, that is producing the lettuce that makes you poop your pants.
It's a family show. I appreciate your gentling that down for the kids.
Indeed. The shit yourself lettuce. So if this was during the school year, I feel like there would be an interesting case study with our students.
Yeah.
Imagine you are running crisis comms for Taylor Farms. The public did not know that you existed 48 hours ago. Now they know you as the purveyors of shit yourself lettuce. What's your plan? Go. And they could sort of figure out, okay, for this sort of a client, like what are the things that you do in this scenario? And what stands out to me in what's been happening is a route that is now available for crisis comms is instead of trying to get ahead of this, like get a handle on the scandal and then get out in front of it and show like, yes, this happened, but we were being responsible, and then sort of let it go away. A thing you can do instead is pay off the Trump administration and hopefully have them say, yeah, that's not real. Actually, we take it back.
Well, it's sort of. I mean, I started paying a lot of attention to this. I've sort of paid attention to my lovely young wife who's here as a public health expert. So we pay a lot of attention to things like food and health and stuff, which is very confusing to me. But I was eating a Chipotle for lunch, and a reporter called and said, can you come on and talk about Taylor Farms? And I immediately regretted my lunch choice. The FDA didn't walk back the entire Taylor Farms. Only one false positive from one piece of lettuce from one farm in Mexico. And I think one of the things that's happened, unfortunately, is, Taylor Farms gave a bunch of money to MAGA Inc. A lot of companies gave a bunch of money to MAGA Inc. $1 million in this context actually isn't a huge amount of money. It's a lot, but it's not a huge amount of money. But because the president and conservatives have spent so long saying you can't trust public health agencies because they're corrupt, because big companies buy them, it looks like a big company just bought a public health agency. So, I mean, the Trump administration is now suffering from a narrative of its own creation, whether or not there's anything nefarious happening in it.
Right. And just broadly, the lack of competence. Like, of course, there was a Doge link.
Right.
And it came up that, we used to have a government that looked into things like the cyclospor, I forget the name of it, the thing that makes you shit yourself. Like, we used to have people who monitored for that because that's a thing that you're supposed to do in a society. And then Doge came in and trashed that because they trashed all the things. And now here we are.
But you've also got the FDA actually doing its job. I mean, it's a big agency. I was there as an Obama appointee, as you know. And I have so much respect for the scientists and lawyers and everybody else who's there making sure that medicines are safe and effective and that our food is safe. And they did their job. But unfortunately, this narrative that the Trump administration advanced is now helping undermine its own public health agency at a time we need it most.
Right. Though what I would say is no shade on the people who were left there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's an awful lot of empty offices.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
It's not doing what it should be doing.
They have been shrinking the parts of government that have important things to do, and now we're left with the results.
Yeah.
But I do find it interesting from a comms perspective that there is now this alternate route, right? Because that is fascinating to me as a communicator, and then as a citizen who likes to eat lettuce sometimes, deeply, deeply concerned.
Well, it's part of this larger narrative then where the Trump administration has basically put a for sale sign out.
Yeah.
Right? There's a sub-industry now of people who lobby for clemency. right? I mean, there are people, like, this is public knowledge that you write this person a check and they will help. They're not going to, you don't buy clemency, but you lobby for it the same way you lobby for legislation or the same way you lobby for other things. It's retail politics at its sort of most extreme and obvious, which I find hugely problematic.
Yeah.
Hugely problematic. To that end, there's one thing I also just learned about. I get a lot of my news from reporters who call me and ask me what's going on. I quickly Google it to find out what it is they're talking about. A guy named John.
Real professional, folks.
Very professional, very professional. The director, yeah, all the things. So John Solomon, reading my notes from my Aristotle pad. Dignity does not consist in possessing honors, but in deserving them. That's the quote from the pad. Just saying, deserving honors, Dave.
It's amazing that we are not one of the top podcasts on Spotify.
Yet.
When we have an Aristotle quote every week.
Yet, Dave, yet. Hope springs eternal. John Solomon, who was at one point a respected journalist, bylines in the Washington Post and other places, has veered very far right, has a podcast, very conservative, is now heading the White House's election integrity task force. So here's a guy who's an election denier, heading an election integrity, it's air quotes for those of you listening on the podcast and not watching on YouTube, election integrity task force, with his own megaphone bragging about how rigged elections are. Thoughts?
I mean, again, like this fits in for me with Trump's speech last Thursday.
Yeah.
Which I thought, I was planning on writing about that on Friday. I figured this is going to be a big deal. It's going to make me mad, and then I'm going to write about it. And it ended up being a smaller deal just because like he didn't have his A game. But again, they keep on sending signals that they don't think elections are legitimate when Democrats win them. And they are going to use the architecture of the state to try to make that true. And again, sort of strategically, you're faced with this challenge of you want to take that seriously without puffing it up when it is not serious.
So
right?
how do you do that?
Yeah. I mean, you kind of got to sort of monitor and adjust as you go. Like, but for people listening, he just rolled his eyes at me.
And did a thing with my hands to emphasize that.
Yeah. I like this. The difficulty though, right, is it is not clear to me that the Trump administration has the capacity to control all of the local elections coming up in November. Right. And making it sound like they do creates a bigger problem for you.
Right.
Also, we live in a country where they keep on doing stuff that they can't do. And then sometimes the Supreme Court says, like, yeah, that's cool. You can do that now. And so you don't want to dismiss it out of hand because, like, it sounded like Trump was planning on Thursday to say that the two Democratic senators from Georgia aren't really senators because he had decided that that election was fixed. He backed off on that, I guess. And my guess is part of what he backed off on that is they telegraphed that and people were like, you are not with that bullshit. That won't stand up. And then they backed off, right? That's the taco trade. Trump always chickens out. And so you want to sound the alarm on how dangerous this stuff is without bringing it into being, which also then means on the fly sort of figuring out, okay, how much of this is hot air and how much of this is there's enough substance that we need to take it seriously and drill down into it. That is kind of, you need to adjust on the fly a lot.
But yeah, but I feel like there's also this, that's always playing defense, right? That's always reactive. Oh, we said a crazy thing. How crazy is it? Like, the Streisand effect and all of that. But I worry that the Solomon piece, the speech last Thursday, is this drumbeat setting up a narrative saying, oh, we all know elections are rigged. We all know, because that's all anybody's been hearing, as opposed to a counter narrative of democratic trust, right? How do we tell the story that you can actually trust local elections, that you can trust the FDA, you can trust the CDC, you can trust agencies, like you can actually trust the stuff that runs a lot of our lives. How do we tell that story? That's a huge challenge. How do we tell that story?
I mean, it's a huge challenge. I'm not sure that we do.
You're the comms guy. You got to calm this.
You're also the comms guy.
Yeah, but you're the clever one. I'm the good. You see?
We can all agree that I'm the clever one.
There we go. You're the clever one. You get no email. You get no fan mail.
So look, I did get an email this week. Yeah, I got one.
What did it say?
Thank you, listener. It said, hey, it's from D-Coob or Di-Coob, who I know from Blue Sky, said, hey, I listened to the pod and you said that somebody should email you, so I emailed you. It was great. Made my day.
Did you see anything nice about it? Anything constructive? Like your shirt?
Something like the show. Anyway, back to my...
Nice. Okay, that's very good.
My point.
You're trying to say something, Dave?
There's two bits that I would...
Aristotle quote.
That's great. There's two bits that I want to fit in here.
Yes.
One is we are now, I think, close enough to the election that constant defense and distraction are at a meta level, I think, pretty solid strategy, right? Like, one of the things about when Trump is your opponent is that this is a man who lacks focus and isn't great at execution. So, like, you don't want to do the let's just distract him and piss him off so that he doesn't accomplish anything for 4 years. But for 6 months or so, leaving him distracted and incompetent is actually pretty decent. So I don't mind that. But to see the other thing, and then you can tell me why I'm totally wrong.
No, but
okay, do that, and then I'll do the other thing.
do the other thing. I don't want to step on your.
So the other thing is, I think I've talked to you about this before, but I had a big aha moment around, I think it was early 2000, so it was like late first Trump administration, where his main elections guy was talking about how the single most important thing is that people believe that our elections are sound and secure.
Yeah.
This was after a bunch of computer security people had released reports saying, hey, actually, it's really easy to hack these voting machines, and you should do things to make sure that they don't get hacked, because it's really easy for us to do that.
Right.
And his response was basically like, people should not hear that report because the most important thing is trust in the elections. And I drew sort of a 2-box chart of like bad outcomes. The best outcome is for our elections to be safe and secure and people to believe that they are safe and secure.
Right.
A bad outcome is for them to be safe and secure, but people not to believe it, right? That is a type of mess that is solved through good comms.
Right.
Then you have a box that is the elections are not safe and secure, but people think they are. That's a type of outcome which does not last, because then you're functionally not a democracy anymore, but you're asking people to pretend. And you can comms that, but actually that's like a gaping wound that you're putting a Band-Aid on. It's not going to last. And then the worst outcome, the full anarchy, is when the elections aren't safe and secure and everybody knows it. And then you need to address all the root causes because time's up. For the government, like you bring comms guys in, or comms people in, I don't want to be gendered here. Comms folks. You bring us in to... That's even worse. Don't hire this man. You bring us in to help when the substance is good and the messaging is bad. But the most important thing for the person who's in charge of election integrity is to make sure that the substance is solid, right? The problem right now with things like FDA and CDC isn't these are really competent agencies and people don't believe it. The problem is these agencies got doged and got corrupted. There's still good people working there, but any good person working at those agencies will tell you after one beer, yeah, things are so much worse and I am desperately trying to keep it together because everything is on substance way worse now. That problem needs fixing. And I think leaning into messaging of no, people should still really support this or should really trust this is at best a Band-Aid and sometimes isn't helpful because they need to be shamed into actually making these things function.
Well, yeah. I mean, shamed into making them function, and I think that's where the lettuce stuff matters. Like, look, if you actually had people doing their jobs or more of them, then this would be better. But I think trust is itself its own product, right? Like democracy, one of the things we learned early in Trump 1 is that democracy is a series of gentlemen's agreements. There are things we just, one ought not or one ought, so we do. So I think if we say that local elections are run by good people who can and should be trusted, and by and large they are, then we're more likely to trust them. Part of the challenge is local elected officials aren't volunteering for things or signing up for things because they're getting death threats, because everybody thinks they're corrupt, which makes them worse, right? So I think we have to comms into, like, why trust elections when John Solomon is impartially investigating the guy he agrees with?
So this is the bit that I think is a little wrong.
Okay.
They are getting death threats, but only from one side. And they are not getting death threats because everyone thinks they're corrupt.
Right. But
they're getting death threats because a particular audience keeps on being told, hey, go threaten these people who are deep state operatives.
Right.
You address that, I think, not by saying everyone should trust this, because amongst everything else, like that message isn't going to carry to the people who are doing the death threats. You address that, again, like people who know me, like I always want to focus on political elites and pressuring political elites as opposed to mass audiences. Right. There's a set of elites who are making choices of it is in our interest to tell people, hey, you should go attack those guys. That goes great for us. You need to create some counter pressures that they start saying, oh, actually, that goes terribly for us, because then we end up in a world of shit lettuce. And then we get kicked out of office even though we had a propaganda outfit because it was difficult to message our way out of the shit lettuce.
Yes. and like, yes, political elites matter. Yes, still people listen to political elites. Yes, people listen to President Trump and people like John Solomon and Hannity and all the rest. But they also listen to local elected officials. Like, I can imagine a world.
Do they? Do they even hear that? I mean, like,
I think
this is the challenge of the media environment. Is like, how often do people, unless they are already deeply tapped into their local community, which is a small subset,
Right.
all politics became national once all media became national. So like I'm not sure in the like average town people are really hearing from their elected officials, because how would they?
I think they're hearing from them directly. The places like Arizona are doing interesting things on election transparency. Like, here's how elections are run. It turns out if you explain to people how elections are run, why it takes a long time to count ballots, why these things happen, people then increase trust because they understand the process better.
Does that mean that they're not going to threaten, do death threats of those elected
No,
officials?
of course not.
I think
Of course
they
they're gonna
will.
have some
The
death
Arizona
threats.
Republican Party
but
is going to say do it.
Right, but it's a yes and, right? Yeah, we need better elite messaging, but also we need better sort of a base building locally so that the message doesn't seep through as much. Like some pre-buttles or inoculations or whatever, right? So you get secretaries of state, you get local election officials to push stuff out in social media or direct mail or door knockers, whatever, saying, hey, we have an election coming up. Here's how the process works. Here's who the people are who are running elections, just so you know, right? So then when people turn on Newsmax, whatever, they turn on and go, wow, elections are really bad somewhere else.
So the part that I will agree with you on is rebuilding civic infrastructure at the local state level, critically important, and a thing that you shouldn't be waiting on, right? Because it'll never be time to do that. It's time now, and if like you only do responsive politics, then like if you're only reacting, then you're never building that civic infrastructure, and you're always worse off. So I agree with you on that bit. Finding the funders who will support it and support it for 10 years as opposed to a year and a half and then they get bored, very, very difficult. And a thing that I think has like been a systematic degrading property of the past at least quarter century. So I'm with you on all of that. And also from a comms perspective, I would still mostly focus on shame, because that's A, the thing that's going to go viral and carry in the media environment that we have, and B, there's a set of powerful people who currently see it as in their interest to sow chaos so they can maintain power. They need to learn to knock it the fuck off, and they're not going to like saying like, yeah, but look at the great local elected officials isn't a thing that bothers them.
I think it's a yes and. I think it has to be a yes and. Yeah. And
I gave you some yes and there, didn't I?
Give me some yes and. We need funders to fund this for a long time. So funders who are listening, write big checks to Dave, I think is what we're saying.
Just not to me. I wouldn't know what to do with your money. Ask
Then
me
give it
where
to me.
to
I know
write.
what to do with it.
Don't give him money either. He's going to spend on Chipotle at his age. Come on. Ask me who to give checks to, and then do that for like a
What do
decade
you do?
or
We need
so.
to pay
It'd be
Yvonne.
great.
Somebody needs to pay Yvonne's bill.
Also pay Yvonne.
Pay
That would
Yvonne.
be great.
Pay Yvonne. I want to change the subject.
I wanted to change the subject. Give me a short one.
I have notes.
I know, and I don't,
Do you
but
want
I've got a great
Aristotle
one
pad?
here.
Can't have it.
No.
No. What kind of?
Okay, so my next bit is on the wildfires.
Your next bit is on the wildfires. You get a bit on the wildfires. This is a really niche kind of audience, ladies and gentlemen. Live from
These are people who showed up for our podcast. It's a niche audience.
They have swagger. They're from us. Like they're stickers.
And Domino's. So I just want to point out that the comms response from Republicans about the wildfire smoke
Sue Canada.
was sue Canada, and Canada needs to rake their forests better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as a climate guy,
You have thoughts on this?
I have thoughts on this, which is we did fucking tell you.
You know, every time you say that, the YouTube algorithm gets angrier at you.
oh no. We spent years and years saying the effects of climate change are going to make things like catastrophic wildfires worse. And the response was, yeah, not now. That would be hard to deal with. And now they are worse. And a thing that was predictable is when they got worse, the response from the authoritarians would be just find a scapegoat and continue to not care.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what's happening.
Yes.
I don't know how to fix that in the short run. In the short run, I don't think that's fixable. We need the medium term to fix that. But I at least on my own podcast need to point out we did fucking tell you, and here we fucking are, and this is worse.
Yeah.
I, as a guy with asthma who would like to lose some weight, last week could not eat a salad or go for a run, and all of that was so fucking predictable.
Yes.
And the comms responses were also so predictable in advance.
Yes.
This does not get better unless we have elites who decide that the work of governing is hard and worth doing. And we don't currently have that. We're going to need it stat.
And as you've pointed out in the past, a lot of what needs to be done is the boring work of government.
Yeah.
Right? It's just rebuilding infrastructure.
Yeah.
I mean, the metaphor we've used in the past is if you redo your kitchen, the really big, cool, expensive stuff happens behind the drywall that you can't show off to your friends. Like, yes, oh, look at your high-end stove. That's really neat. But the cool stuff nobody sees that makes everything work, and that's a part of government that has to happen. Yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, my lovely young wife and I were in New York last week, and in Penn Station, Moynihan Hall, and the National Guard was there handing out masks to people coming off of trains because the air was so bad in New York. Yeah. And we got to D.C. and it was worse. Yeah. It's... Anything else you want to say on that?
I mean, just like the meta level story of my entire lifetime.
Yeah.
Is that government actually does important things. It plays an important role in people's lives. We've had 40, 50 years of pretending otherwise and comms aimed at convincing people otherwise because there's short-run benefit in running against the government. And that makes things worse. We are dealing with the downstream effects of it. Like large scale, again, you don't fix this with like a single comms campaign. But large scale, things only get better if you have government doing the government things, which means restoring some faith in government, but also having government be competent again.
Right. This is a consistent themes, right? Mayors, governors, whatever, have to make stuff work, and they have to be seen to be making stuff work. Yep. You increase confidence in government when government actually appears to be doing things it says it's doing. So, like, I'm fixing potholes while I'm doing the boring stuff.
This is the reason why you were Mamdani's greatest fan.
I was not a fan of his politics, but I got to tell you, like, he's actually showing up and acting like a mayor.
Yeah.
And he's got a bit of a shtick. He's always in a suit, right? He was in a public pool in a suit. And he's a soccer guy and he's an Arsenal fan. And so, like,
cause-wise, you have to admit he's basically the best mayor right now. He's killing it, and you have to love that he's killing it.
I love that he's killing it. I don't know about his governing, and I want to see if this works. I am all in.
6 months to 2 years from now, Peter Loge joins the DSA.
That is
coming.
That is so profoundly unlikely. It is so profoundly unlikely.
Much more likely to say on Kalshi. Anyway, you had a thing that I disrupted. What was your thing?
No, I see how this goes now. Moving on now, you're mugging for your students. We're never doing a live show again. What am I doing?
Particularly for the event where you announce that you're part of the DSA now.
That is so. No, when I did Arizona politics, me and a couple of others used to trade off the leadership of the Democratic Leadership Council in Arizona, which I'm sticking with. All right, so I just have some things I want to flag, and then we can talk about prediction markets because I know that also riles you up, and that's what we're here for. One of my favorite things.
I'm not getting to exercise, but we're still going to raise my blood pressure. It's really healthy what we're doing here.
Yeah, well, it's also super hot in here, so you're losing weight, sweating through your T-shirt. So something from Notice, News of the United States, great outlet you should check out. We
need to pause for a second. It is a good outlet. It's NOTUS.
Right.
Which I don't know who they hired who told them, yes, the name of your news outlet should be not us, but they went with it. And
they tried to change it and got sued out of it, and they're going to change it. The point is,
come on, team, talk to me first.
You can hire him. Where am I? So it's basically the IRS's strategy is now let them eat pretzels. Have you read about this?
I read the thing you sent me, but tell us about it.
So we're moving in the right direction then if you're reading stuff I'm sending you, which is a step up. That's all I do. I've highlighted things. The Social Security Administration laid off a ton of people, right? So basically, which is costing the government money because it turns out if you fire people who enforce financial crimes, people with enough money and resources to both commit financial crimes and get away with it are now getting away with many more financial crimes. Yeah. So terrible all around. The guy's sister owns a pretzel company called Pretzels. And he's now twice sent containers of Pretzels to his beleaguered staff to thank them for all the hard work. So let them eat pretzels. No agency funds or staff were used for the pretzels, which were most recently sent to mark America's 250th anniversary. That's a traditional American snack. I believe Ben Franklin had a pretzel company. And the matter was reviewed and cleared in an ethics review. So there's some ethics staffer, Office of Government Ethics, going, okay, are they chocolate dipped pretzels? Are they locally made pretzels? Are these domestic pretzels? So the other thing so do you have any thoughts on the pretzels?
I have two thoughts. One is pretzels are culturally deeply connected to Philadelphia. And as somebody who is opposed to Philadelphia, I lived there in my 20s. That city knows what it did. I'm offended.
I've learned several things now. I feel like I should
that. Anyway, we've known each other for how long? I haven't complained to you about Philadelphia before.
Now is probably not the time to go into it. They're
Anyway.
tied to Philadelphia. I associate them with New York.
Philadelphia's got a big pretzel thing. I'll Google it later.
Google it later.
Ask Claude to explain.
I will Claude it. Claude it later. Do we verb those things
My
now?
God.
Moving on.
No, so the other bit that I just want to point out is,
audience.
again, the IRS becoming something that is hollowed out and only used to pursue political vendettas, right? Like,
Yeah.
we have far fewer IRS agents, which means that very few people are going to get audited. You know who needs to make sure that they file their taxes perfectly? Is people who spend their time on Blue Sky and the blogosphere making fun of the administration. My taxes are perfect because they need to be.
You've just invited investigation of your
They're
taxes.
perfect because I understand that if they're going to go after somebody, it's going to be the assholes who complain about them, not the assholes who are actually ripping off the government.
Yeah. Let's we'll give you pretzels. The other part, I don't know if you saw
God damn it, Philly.
the FCC has apparently approved the plot of Die Another Day.
Yeah, what?
A really bad James Bond movie, Die Another Day. A big part of it is the bad guy has a set of satellites called Icarus, which bounces. I'm getting some nods. I'm getting like 2 nods in the back and a couple in the front, pity nods, frankly. It's like the Dave response here. It's satellites with big mirrors on them that bounce the sunlight to dark parts of the Earth. And the bad guy in the movie says Icarus is there so we can have farming all around and help people bring light into darkness. And the FCC has approved a startup company to try its plan to bounce solar rays to the dark side of the Earth, turning night into day for a 3-mile wide patch. This is the plot of Die Another Day. And they're the bad guys. The FCC's approved it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That does bring to mind, SpaceX stock is now falling. And that is what during last week when I was stuck indoors and couldn't eat lettuce and couldn't run, that's how I would enjoy myself, is just refreshing the SpaceX stock ticker and just seeing all those suckers pay.
Wow. I would say you need to get out more, but clearly you
I
can't
do
because
need
of
to
the
get out more, and I
wildfires.
couldn't.
Because of the wildfires.
That's what I'm left with.
And so instead you come here every other week.
The other thing, if we're talking FCC, is
Sure.
the merger is now on the fritz.
Yeah.
We got lawsuits, so Larry Ellison's kid, David Ellison, might not be able to buy the entire media, just big parts of it.
So both CNN
That's
and
nice.
CBS News get to exist for a little while longer.
And CBS
side
News
by
is
side.
cooked, but CNN at least, who knows?
Well, at least
maybe.
with the merger, both of them wouldn't survive.
Oh, both? Okay.
Right, because they'd both be part of the
But
same.
like
Why
Barry
would one
Weiss
company
is
own-
already Barry Weiss the hell out of CBS.
But at least
so
it
he
still
can come back.
exists.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, technically.
Oh, that's another thing. Barry Weiss is going to get to give Peter Thiel a big award. The Axel Springer has named Peter Thiel the recipient of the 2026 Axel Springer Award.
Yeah.
Because they say that he's had really big impacts on media and technology and society, which he has. I just don't know that we should be celebrating that.
Yeah, maybe clearer criteria. I want to do one last thing as time runs, but I know you have thoughts on this. So betting markets, 3 things, or 2 things on betting markets. I'm working your blood pressure, Dave. Do you need a cool drink? Take a sip, deep breaths.
Go talk.
I've got 2, one from NPR, one from the New York Times. NPR reporting on campaign staff going on Kalshi, betting on campaigns on which they are working. And then also somebody at the White House, the teleprompter operator of the White House on Kalshi, won $100,000 by placing bets on the prediction market about what President Trump would say in his speeches. So how you feeling? Wow, that's a
You missed a third
scary
one, which is
color.
apparently you
Oh,
can
the
bet on
fires.
wildfires.
You can bet on wildfires.
Yeah.
You can bet on fires. I see that going very
You can
well.
bet on whether or not wildfires will occur.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can anyone think of any downstream effects how that could go wrong? Again, the thing that stands out to me is my standard comms advice. The students who take my class have heard this from me a bunch, and also people who read my blog. Like I talk about this much. The thing you always want in framing is to locate the spot where you are being reasonable and your opponent or the status quo is ridiculous.
Right.
You can't always find that, but when you find that, comms-wise, you will win.
Yeah.
We're supposed to live in a world where it's not easy to find that. And it's just like so damn easy and also doesn't matter. Like, obviously, it's bad to be in a society where everything is just gambling, including insider trading.
Yeah.
But apparently, we're not going to do anything about it because the government, like people who run the government, just get kickbacks from it.
Yeah.
So we're just going to exist in that society, and everything will get worse.
But it was reported, so everything's solved. It must be reported because they caught the guys, so it must be okay. This is
cool. We'll get a story like this again in the next month.
This is absurd in the extreme. Like, this is just absurd. This is obscene.
We used to live in a society where when things got absurd, the government begrudgingly said, "Okay, fine, we will make things a little bit bad. A little bit better." And that's because we lived in a society. The society I grew up in was one in which making the world better is hard work, and therefore it's going to be frustrating how long it takes to make things better. We don't even live in that world anymore. We now live in a world where like there's just outright corruption. Everyone's like, yeah, what are you going to fucking do about it?
We're going to comms our way out of it?
No, we're not going to comms our way out of it. We need elites to be like, oh, this is actually worse for us.
So how do we persuade elites to do that? That'll be a future episode because you're going to have to think about it because if we don't come up with calm solutions, we've got a room full of people who are going to eat cold dominoes and just be let down from pillar to post. I mean, we've made them sad and then they're going to be sadder and hungry.
Again, the
good news, like the upside is there's no lettuce. Okay, but like when that's the good news, you're in a bad place.
So I would say in the short term, no comms does not fix this.
Okay.
In the medium term, you need to build institutions that affect people's incentives.
Yes.
And pressure elites to behave differently or get replaced.
Pressure's comms.
And respond to opportunities as they come. Right? Yeah. Like, big picture, if somebody says, like, Dave, how does anything get better in the next 5-10 years? My answer is usually, well, I think that we are in enough of a giant financial bubble that is absurd in the extreme that it probably won't, like, I don't think it's going to crash tomorrow, but eventually, like you've said this before, like things that are unsustainable eventually stop.
Yeah.
Right. So like at some point there will be a moment where all of the financial bullshit stops functioning. That then creates a massive opportunity. And then you need to organize and you need to do everything right to build something better. But I don't know when and what that opportunity looks like. So you need to sort of build institutions now and build capacity now to seize it when it comes.
See, I think I would yes, and I think you should also be telling a better narrative story now. You need to build the story that you can then prove yourself right with. Mm-hmm. Different conversation, future episodes. As the clock is running, I have to do one World Cup thing. Two World Cup things. First, I predicted Spain would win, and I predicted the Basques would be responsible, right on both fronts.
But I didn't notice the Basque part, but great to hear.
Yeah, scored the winning goal in 3 of the last 4 games, and the assist in the final against a really chippy Argentina that, through their own arrogance and foolishness, denied Messi at least the round of applause he deserved. But a favorite bit that I think you might even appreciate: Erling Haaland, the big star from Norway. Charmed this. I didn't even know where the source of this. Charmed America while he was here. He was seen boarding a plane with a taxidermied raccoon carrying a bottle of gin.
That's where my raccoon.
He bought it from Wild Bill's Western store in Dallas for $750. They're sold out, and the taxidermist responsible for it retired. So Erling Haaland, one of the most famous soccer players on the planet. Arguably, when his career is over, might be one of the greatest strikers of all time, has made his name in the U.S. for buying a taxidermied raccoon holding an empty bottle of gin.
Love it.
I love the World Cup. Final thoughts, Dave?
I got nothing on that. What sports are we going to be able to talk about for the next?
There's plenty of soccer. There's National Women's Soccer League. There's Major League Soccer. The Premier League starts up soon. I can talk about Arsenal. There's the Women's World Cup coming up in Brazil. We've got Copa America. There's always soccer all the time.
Okay, this is a soccer podcast between somebody who watches soccer and somebody else.
Welcome to my life, Dave. Welcome to my life. We're good. You're good?
I feel like this was a great episode, audience. So thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much.